Well, everybody, welcome to week 2 of the Job Loss Support Group. My name is Steve Shelton. I'm the CEO and founder of Green Shoe Consulting. I have to admit some embarrassment because I thought I hit go live and I just went through the whole session myself. So I'm going to reiterate this in a very short manner, but the idea is we're going to open up the Zoom session here for anybody that wants to have direct access and discussion on this. So first and foremost, let me share my screen. Apologies for my goof, but sometimes that's the way it goes. So I'm going to share my PowerPoint slide. Bear with me. All right. So hopefully we are recording now, but I want to thank Ira Winkler and CruiseCon for helping to support this and try to pull the community together to help support some folks that are dealing with some challenges right now in between jobs. So the whole point behind this group is just that, is that there's been a lot of layoffs. So I think the numbers that I've seen are somewhere between 20,000 to 30,000 people this year being laid off. There's some talk about more of that occurring. So the fears, doubts, and anxieties around that one, experiencing the job loss on your own, when you don't choose to do it, can have a big impact on us mentally and emotionally. And so we want to provide space to support folks in a group setting like this. So that way, that's one of the best ways to maintain resilience is that support aspect. In session 1, we talked about the fact that isolation is one of the things that people go into because they're embarrassed, ashamed, whatever reasoning that they interpret that job loss being in a reflection on themselves, opposed to the fact that there's a lot of extenuating circumstances outside of your control. So really connecting back into who are you, what is your value, and how do we lift you up so that way you can maintain positivity, optimism, and resilience to find that next step. That's the goal. Our guidelines, a little wonky on this because the live YouTube portion of this does not allow us to maintain full confidentiality. I will provide the Zoom session to folks so that way, as part of the comments in the YouTube link here, so that way everybody can join on and have that confidential space. But we ask that if you're participating, we keep a level of respect. If someone is providing a chat or sharing something in the chat, we want to make sure that, one, we are not disrespectful in terms of what they're sharing. We're being curious and not judgmental. And then finally, a big part of this group interaction is the fact that you get to learn from others, even if you're not sharing and participating. Even if you're just observing, you'll be able to hear what others are dealing with, realizing that you're not alone, that a lot of people are struggling or having a challenge with things. But then there's also skills that you might be able to learn from others that you might not have. And so that's a big part of this space too. So today what we're going to get into is defining some core values, the values that drive our words, thoughts, and our actions. Oftentimes when we're experiencing internal conflict with ourselves, it's because we're not living in alignment with our values that guide our words, thoughts, and our actions. And I've experienced many adults that maybe are, I'll say, a little disconnected from their values. So this thing happens when we start in our career. We might have an understanding of the reasons why we're doing that and embarking on that career path. It might happen, as often does in cybersecurity, that you came into cybersecurity through random circumstance or it just fell into it type thing. But the idea is that we all work on and operate on values. And so reflecting on those is important because when we're not living in alignment with those things, we feel a lot of internal turmoil or conflict. And so I'm going to offer up a bit of a different activity than we did the prior series because I also realize that everybody learns differently. Approaching it from a different perspective might open up things to help you understand it a little bit more deeply. And so that's what we're going to get into today. We're not going to spend 45 minutes on this. In fact, it may be more like 10 to 15 because I want to open up that Zoom session and allow space for everybody to be able to get some one-on-one confidential assistance. So jumping into it, I like to start off every meeting and session in terms of anybody I work with with a check-in or an icebreaker. We did this last series as well. So for this week, I'd like to offer up and have you reflect on what was one strength, value, personality trait that you leaned on in the last week. Part of the idea behind this is to get your mind focused on and your attention on the positive aspects of the things that you display. Excuse me. So modeling this, I'm in Dallas, Texas right now. We had a cooking class event last night for some cybersecurity leaders down here. And I was able to lean into the strength for me of having a positive attitude. It was pretty easy with the environment. Everybody was having fun, enjoying themselves, making really good food and talking with colleagues and peers and that type of thing. So it was pretty easy for me to lean into that, but still just acknowledging that is important. So with that being said, think about what strength or personality trait you leaned into. And then if you want to put that in the chat, you're welcome to do so. Now we're going to jump into the activity to brainstorm on what are the values that make up who you are and what you stand for. So these are the things that we have a lot of them. We all operate on them from the time that you're waking up in the morning, if you're hitting the snooze button or not, if you're taking a shower, what clothes you're going to wear, what food you're going to eat, etc. There are so many decisions that we make that are based on our values, what's important to us. So we're going to get into this today. So we're going to change this up a little bit. So if you'd like to see what we did last series for week 2, the video is saved on the CruiseCon channel. We're going to change this up. So for today, what I'd like to offer up is I'd like you to think about 3 people who have been mentors to you, who you've tried to emulate, to act like, to talk like, etc., or who taught you how to do these things. So it could be parents, could be caregivers, it could be teachers, coaches, managers, business leaders. There's a variety of people that have had some impact on you, right? So the idea is, one, not to be thinking that this is a concrete thing that we're putting in place. This is going to be something that it's an ongoing journey, because you're going to start at one point and it might not come so easily to you to come up with the traits for each one of these people. It might not be easy for you to come up with 3 people that have been mentors or people that you've looked up to. I've had that happen to plenty of people. So the idea here is to really look at 3 people, brainstorming and just allowing yourself permission to write these things down and generate some ideas around this. So I'll also model this so you have it an example. But once you get those 3 people down, I have a list of values or traits on the next slide. I want you to come up with 15 to 20 values or personality traits or strengths that each one of those people exudes. So the idea behind this is that, to give you the example, the idea here is that, like Martin Luther King Jr., what did he stand for? What was his life about? Most people would say equality. Conversely, what did Malcolm X's life stand for? Most people would say he stood for equality also. Both of them had similar values or the same values, but they had very different approaches to try to achieve those values. MLK was focused on equality through nonviolence. Malcolm X was focused on equality through any means possible, the bullet or the ballot, or ballot or the bullet. One of the two is the way that his speech was named. But you get the idea that you may have a specific value and you may share values with somebody else, but you most likely have a very different approach to achieving that value. So what we want to do is just brainstorm and allow yourself just to write things down, because what's going to happen is you're going to see trends with the values that you come up with for each person. For example, here are not all, this is not an exhaustive list. This is just something to get you started. This is a list of values to take a look at, and then start brainstorming for those 3 people. What did they exhibit to you? What do you think they lived? Was it honesty? Was it fairness? Was it integrity? Whatever it was. Anything else that comes to mind, you can Google search other values as well. But the idea is we want to get 15 to 20. So just to demonstrate what this looks like, from my standpoint, my mom, my dad, and my football coaches in high school were very influential on me. So that's the idea. My mom, for example, she is the sweetest person that I know. Just always positive, ray of sunshine, kind, focused on having positive, healthy relationships, making healthy choices. She was open to trying new things, adventurous, loved to have fun, still does, family oriented, hardworking, and she really reinforced to me treating others the way that I want to be treated. So I still live that way today. My dad has a lot of similar traits as my mom, hardworking, family first. He takes action. So I think I kind of reiterate that. But he grew up as a mechanic, working on cars, and then in the Air Force working on jet planes as well. So he liked problem solving in that aspect. He also was big on having a plan and then working it, sticking to it. So a big plan for him was he wanted financial security and stability. He worked a job for 30 years, retired, got a pension. And so he's set himself up based upon the plan that he executed. He was also big on asserting himself. So if it was anything in terms of what he believed in and was important to him, he would stand up for himself and for others in that capacity. And my football coaches were big on, one, teaching us that there was, and so they, and for them and for me, lift others up. Else, so there's a sense of humility and assertiveness, and then stewardship. Stewards leave things better than when they found them. And then I love the idea, because they taught this relentlessly, your mind will quit before your body. So the idea that your body is always looking for the easy way out, that it doesn't want to do hard things, it wants pleasure. The issue being that your brain will try to shut you down and prevent you from doing the hard things because it doesn't enjoy that. However, if it's physical exercise, that applies in that context. But if it's also just living your life, your brain is set to default to negative survival instinct mode. So how do we manage that and still carry on when things get hard? And then finally, do what's right even when no one is looking. That level of integrity is such a beautiful thing, but it's not always practiced. So with those things, I'm able to lump that all together into an effective statement that identifies who I am and what I believe. My personal philosophy is to be the light. So that Martin Luther King quote, and I may slaughter this, that hatred cannot kill hatred, only love can do that. Darkness cannot replace darkness, only light can do that. That's, to me, all encompassing of all those things that my mom, my dad, my high school coaches taught me. So once you get to that point, and by the way, it took me quite a while to refine my values and my personal philosophy like this. It took me well over a year. It's an ongoing journey. So understand the starting point that you begin with may not be the ending point that you have. So that's part of the idea behind this. What I'll also encourage you to do is take a look at the prior series, week 2. We went through a different activity to come up with a personal compass statement. It's similar, but instead of just having that statement of my personal philosophy is to be the light, it goes into a little bit more meaning behind it. So for example, if your value is innovation, the personal compass statement could be something like, my compass is innovation because I thrive when I'm solving new challenges with creative technology solutions. What this does for you is it helps you find the people within your tribe for that next job, that next career path, right? So the idea here is when you can articulate who you are, what you stand for, and you can find others that align with that, that environment more likely is going to align with who you are, which is a big stress predictor. If that environment doesn't align with who you are, that's going to create challenges and conflicts for you. So take a look at that last series, week 2 video, and then come up with this. I will put the Zoom session chat or link rather into the chat for the YouTube comments. If you're able to join and you have any questions, please feel free to join us, and then I'll put that online. Thank you very much. And by the way, next week, Wednesday at 10 a.m. Central, we're going to have week 3 to go through some additional components that allow you to start looking at goal setting and how do we start strategically really working into these goals that you have control over, opposed to just looking at the outcome of, do I have a job or not? Am I getting the interviews or not? Because when we're looking and solely focused on the outcome, anything that we deem as a mistake, as a goof, as not working towards that outcome leads to more stress, anxiety, fear, etc., which takes us out of being our best. So shoot me a note on LinkedIn if you have any questions, but please feel free to join us on Zoom for the next 30 minutes or so, and we'll talk to you then. Thank you very much.